I get it. When you're about to drop a six-figure price tag on a storage solution, the last thing you want is buyer's remorse because you ended up with a box that looks impressive on paper but doesn't really fit into your workflow. You've probably been scrolling through endless spec sheets, trying to parse what 12-bay or Thunderbolt 4 actually mean for the day-to-day tasks you care about. That hesitation is real, and it's exactly why I wanted to break down the Promise Pegasus R12 96TB before you hit add to cart. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's set the scene. Imagine you're a post-production editor who's constantly juggling 8K video clips, raw camera footage, and a mountain of project files that need to be accessible at a moment's notice. Or think of a small visual effects studio that needs a shared pool of storage for multiple workstations, each pulling terabytes of data simultaneously. In those worlds, the difference between fast enough and actually usable can be the difference between meeting a deadline and missing it. The Pegasus R12 is built around that premise, a 12-bay, 8TB drive per bay, all wired through a single Thunderbolt 4 connection, promising a blend of massive capacity and high-performance bandwidth. Now, the first practical question most people ask is whether the Thunderbolt 4 interface actually delivers what the marketing hype suggests. In real-world testing, Thunderbolt 4 maintains a consistent 40 gigabits per second throughput, which translates to roughly 5 gigabytes per second raw transfer speeds. For a single workstation pulling a 4 terabytes project file, you'll see transfer times that are dramatically shorter than a traditional USB-C or Ethernet-based NAS. The key here is the consistent part. There's no noticeable throttling when you start multiple streams, which is a common pain point on lower-end external enclosures. If your workflow involves editing directly off the drive, that steady bandwidth means you can scrub through high-resolution footage without those dreaded frame drops. Equally important is the PromiseRAID software that comes bundled. The software has a reputation for stability in the storage community, and that isn't just marketing fluff. PromiseRAID handles drive failures gracefully, automatically rebuilding data onto a hot spare without requiring you to drop the array or halt work. For someone who can't afford downtime, say, a freelancer on a tight deadline, this safety net is worth the added cost of the enclosure. It also offers tiered RAID levels, so you can choose pure performance with RAID 0 or add redundancy with RAID 5 or 6, depending on how much you value data protection versus raw speed. Who should buy this, though? If you're a solo creator who works primarily with 1080p or 4K footage and keeps most of your library on a local SSD, the Pegasus R12 is probably overkill. You'll be paying a premium for capacity you'll never fully tap and for a performance envelope that your current setup can't exploit. The sweet spot is mid-size production houses, independent filmmakers who regularly handle 6K to 8K raw files, or anyone who needs a centralized storage hub for multiple high-end workstations. It's also a solid choice for data-intensive scientific research labs that need to archive large datasets but still want quick access for analysis. On the flip side, there are a few practical trade-offs that matter once you've opened the box. The unit's footprint, while compact for 12 drives, still requires a dedicated desk space and a solid, stable surface. It's not something you can just slide under a laptop. Also, because it relies on a single Thunderbolt 4 cable for both power and data, you're tied to a compatible port. Older Macs or PCs without Thunderbolt 4 will need an adapter, which can introduce a small latency penalty and adds to the cable clutter. The cooling system is efficient, but if you push the array into a full RAID 0 configuration and constantly write at maximum speed, the fans will spin up noticeably, a minor annoyance if you're used to silent desktop drives. Another consideration is the upfront cost versus incremental upgrades. You're buying 8 8TB drives pre-installed, which is convenient but locks you into that drive size for the life of the unit. If you ever need to expand beyond 96 terabytes, you'll have to replace drives rather than add them, which can be a bit pricey. That said, the drives are hot swappable, so you can replace a failing drive without shutting down the array, a real advantage compared to internal RAID rigs that require a reboot. Let's talk about value beyond the headline specs. The real money saver here is the combination of capacity, performance, and data protection in one chassis. If you were to build a similar setup with separate NAS hardware, a dedicated Thunderbolt 4 controller card, and third-party RAID software, you'd likely spend well over $10,000 and still have to manage compatibility issues. The Pegasus R12 consolidates all that into a single, plug-and-play box, which reduces both the initial outlay and the ongoing maintenance headaches. For teams that need to get up and running quickly, that simplicity translates directly into saved labor costs. In my own research, I've seen a pattern where buyers who previously used multi-node storage solutions struggle with network bottlenecks, especially when moving large media files.